Today's big review is UVI's UVS-3200. This is a Rompler version of the Korg PS-3200 analog synth, and this was a pretty rare 48 voice polyphonic synth from the 1970s. Originally it featured 2 oscillators, there were some filters on board, LFOs and a 16 patch memory. So this recreation runs in the UVI player. It will also run in UVI's Falcon too. And the first thing to notice here is that the interface design is really on point. It did really remind me of the original unit, even down to the chunky buttons and the cable connectors on there. First thing I did was head to the presets. It's all very lush sounding with a kind of vintage charm. Surprisingly, some of the presets don't actually sound very retro at all, so I could sort of think where I'd use these in both modern productions and older kind of retro tracks. I think it would be equally good for that sort of thing. Anyone who's used even a basic kind of soft synth before will feel right at home here with the interface. It's pretty simple with push button controls and dials for the majority of the functions. There's also an arpeggiator and mod control there as well, where you just have to draw on the values. Some of these controls are from the original unit, but there's a few other added bonuses too. The filters here sound convincingly fat. They've got a really wide sort of stereo width as well, and once you start to mess about with the stereo controls, you can really push the sounds to left and right speakers. I really love that. I also enjoyed the FX controls, which are simple, but they add so much more to the sounds when they're used. So let's face it, I'm far too young to have ever used an original 3200 unit, so I can't really comment on the exact recreation here, but to my ears it sounds authentically retro, and I think mixed into a track you're really not going to hear the difference. There's a couple of small notes here that I'd class as cons. I know that some people won't like that this product's on the UVI player and not Contact, but to that I really have to say, you know, just get over yourselves. The free UVI player is more than capable of running this library, and if you did happen to have Falcon, you'll find that tweaking the sounds and the options there have a much more expanded potential. Since the developers did decide to add a few modulators and arpeggiators that didn't appear on the original unit, it would have been nice to have seen some of these options expanded a little bit, maybe with some more ARP presets and modulation options too. Other than that, I think it's a really solid product, and at around €80, I think that's a fair price too. Do have a look at it at the UVI site. Thank you so much for watching. That's just a small taste of the Samplecast, a weekly podcast and YouTube show for sample library geeks and plugin enthusiasts. You can find out more information at thesamplecast.com. Don't forget to subscribe.